Hello, hello, hello. This is Danny Ceballos with Unleashed Consulting and your Best Boss Bootcamp Minute. We're continuing on the theme of what leaders shouldn't do. And then in the previous two episodes, if you haven't watched those, make sure you do. We talked about 4 different things. We're going to continue with that with 2 more things. Leaders, what you shouldn't do to be very careful about avoiding, or being really careful with how you administer it. The first is appropriately inconsistency. So leaders who do not set clear expectations and rules for their team members, or who change their expectations frequently, can create a lack of trust and uncertainty among your followers. So a couple of things that I want to say to that. One is, Gallup, the Gallup organization, has done some research over the past, oh my gosh, like 20 years, and the results continue to be consistent, asking employees what they need in order to be successful and engage with their workplace. And the number one thing that comes up over and over again is this idea of, do I know what is required of me at work? Do I know what is required of me at work? So there tends to be a misalignment between managers and their direct reports around what is expected, right? We as leaders and managers think, well, it's in the job description. We've talked about it. Certainly, it must be clear to my direct report. And direct report is thinking, oh, I can read the mind of my leader, of my manager, and figure out what they want. Both of those things inevitably will end up with misalignment of expectations. So for you as a leader and a manager, for you to be super duper clear about what is expected to the extent possible, right? That you can measure it, that you can show that it's done. That will serve you very, very well. I know that doesn't happen for all kinds of tasks and work, right? But to the extent that you can be super clear about what the expectation is, so that folks know exactly what they are working towards. That's the first thing. The second thing is, when you are making changes to something that you have said or directed or wanted, be really careful about nibbling around the edges of that change, tweaking things. I mean, all of that is good for getting things exactly right. But when you start nibbling around the edges to break down something because you're responding to something, to feedback that you're getting from your direct reports, you tend to make a mess of things. So instead, I want to encourage you to be very thoughtful and inclusive about planning something, and then to trust the plan, even when you're getting feedback that it's not working. Go back, remember that you came to that plan for a reason, so you want to trust that plan as much as possible. Be very, very, very sure about the changes that you're making are, because you're going to get some feedback, you're going to get some fallout, you're going to get some some dead soldiers lying around. You want to be super careful with that. So really use big changes judiciously, and try not to sneak around the edges of a change to modify it, to change it. Just be very careful with that. All right, so that's the first thing. Again, that's around inconsistency. Secondly is lack of vision. So leaders who don't have a clear vision for their organization, who fail to communicate that vision to their team members, may find it difficult to inspire to motivate others. So what can you do to be better about being clearer in your vision? First of all, keep in mind the Yogi Berra quote. Yogi Berra says, if you don't know where you're going, you're probably going to end up somewhere else. So you want to be clear with folks around that vision, because if you are not clear with that vision, what tends to happen is people fill in the gap. They create their own vision for their work, and you really don't want that, right? So you want folks to be able to find the vision in themselves, the internal motivation to be able to move forward. But you want to craft that vision that actually sets the map and the tone and the direction for work. So be super clear about what that vision is. And remember what Yogi said, if you don't know where you're going, you're probably going to end up somewhere else. Secondly, pay attention to how you articulate that vision. How are you just speaking are you just speaking off the cuff about your vision, or have you laid it down with very specific language? And if you're having trouble with doing that, then find a copywriter, find somebody that can write some copy for you, or one of the one of the artificial intelligent devices that are out there. But get it in writing, codify your vision, codify it in writing, but codify it in images and metaphors. Just make sure that you have it so people can look at it, and then make sure to communicate it in 6 different ways, just like we talked about in the last minute, and get people to really identify with that vision. All right, so lack of vision and inconsistency are the 2 things that we just talked about. Keep those in mind, and I'll see you next time for the next Best Boss Bootcamp Minute. This is Danny Ceballos signing off. Bye now.